Everything is Fine by Great 78. Chapter 7. Luna. Ariel's voice rang out over the gathered crowd at the reception in the large Tudor-style home. "I'm so pleased to present to you Mr. Ronald Weasley and Miss Luna Lovegood." Draco felt rather than heard Hermione gasp next to him. She held his arm in an iron grip, clearly using him to keep herself upright. Cautiously, he snaked an arm around her, and she tensed slightly. The crowd swelled around them, blocking their view of the staircase where Ariel greeted their hosts. Granger, it's all right," he whispered. "Did you know about this?" she said from between clenched teeth. Her jaw was set, teeth clenched as her copper eyes flashed, cutting sideways at him. "Did I? How would I have known about this, Granger? Do you really think I'd have brought you here without saying anything if I'd known?" Draco asked. She was quiet for a moment, and then she said, "No, I don't think you would have. But Malfoy, that doesn't negate the fact that we're here, and they're here. We're practically neighbours, for Godric's sake. We're going to have to cross paths, sooner or later. I'm only afraid that they're going to give away my identity." Draco looked around. No one was watching them, as the attention of most guests was either on Ariel and Weasley and Lovegood in the front of the room, or turned back on each other. "Come on," he said, pulling at her hand. They exited the dance floor as quickly and unobtrusively as they could. As they passed the carving station, Draco snatched up a plate and filled it with rotisserie chicken, succulent prime rib, roast pork, and ham. He took 2 forks and tucked them into his jacket pocket, grabbing her hand once more and pulling her along with him. They went through a few different rooms and corridors, getting a bit lost in the maze of frivolous riches. Finally, they located a room that seemed a bit more normal, a small sitting room with a crackling fire in the fireplace. He settled her on the blue velvet sofa, facing the crackling fire. He put the overly filled plate between them on the low table in front of them and dug out the forks. Passing her one, he began to eat. After a nervous moment, she followed suit. When the plate was empty, Draco turned to her and asked, "What do you make of all this?" Hermione's mouth was full of meat, and she had a bit of sauce on her cheek. He dug in his pockets for a handkerchief and came up empty-handed. Looking around, he picked up one of the plush pink velvet pillows and gently wiped her face with one corner. As they had eaten, her worry and anxiety about the situation they found themselves in caused her eyes to fill with tears that threatened to spill down her cheeks. Now, amused by his ridiculous choice of napkin, she laughed, and the tears flowed down freely. Once she had composed herself, she shook her head in confusion. "I just don't know. I thought Ronald was alive. At least, I'm pretty sure he was when I died," she faltered. "And Luna?" Draco asked. "No idea. She moved to Canada soon after the war to study magical beasts at Bentlevy. We lost touch with each other, although I know she and Ginny still wrote back and forth on occasion." Hermione sat back on the sofa to think. Draco absent-mindedly wiped his hands on another pillow and tossed it into the fire in the fireplace. "So, what we know is this. This place has gathered only 100 people from presumably several different years and locations of death on Earth. Supposedly a mix of Muggle and magical, and yet 4% of them happen to all be former Hogwarts students who all knew each other on Earth. How is this random?" Hermione shook her head as though trying to clear it. It's not. That much is certain. But to what end? Are we here to right some wrong in our pasts? Are we supposed to be looking for forgiveness from each other? Are we all experiencing a psychotic break together? Draco turned away from the fireplace to look at her. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Weasley and Lovegood and bring them in here. The four of us will talk this through and try to figure it out together. She stood. Perhaps we should just go, Malfoy. Let's just leave. Go back to our house. We know where they live. We can come back tomorrow. Something in Draco's stomach seemed to flutter at her casual use of the words, our house. Sweet Salazar, he was turning into a fucking Hufflepuff. Granger, let's not put it off. Stay in here, in this room. I'm sure if Weasley sees you, he's going to call you out by your real name, and it'll likely cause a stir, since everyone here knows you as Harlow. Dobby. The elf appeared at once. Get Garamond whatever she wants to eat from the main dining room in this party, and bring it back in here. Bring us some cutlery and napkins, and a bottle of scotch as well. Draco started towards the door, and then turned back to the elf. Is there any way to make the scotch real, like with actual alcohol? I can adjust the parameters for the bottle, yes, Dobby said eagerly. Brilliant. Draco looked at Hermione expectantly, prompting her for her food order. Hermione looked at Dobby. I believe I saw a seafood area. Lobster, prawns, perhaps. Don't forget the butter sauce, Draco reminded the elf, opening the door to go. A chime sounded as he closed it, indicating Dobby's compliance. Back amongst the throngs of partygoers, Draco searched the heads in the crowd for the unmistakable ginger hair of Weasley. He hovered a short distance away behind a tall plant, waiting for Weasley to stop attempting to schmooze his guests. Based upon the handful of brief interactions that he and Weasley had had after the Battle of Hogwarts, this conversation would not start out very cordially. Draco's apology to the man had not gone over the best, certainly not as well as the one that he'd offered to Potter and Hermione. Granted, those had likely seemed more genuine, although Draco did in fact mean his words. He truly had been sorry for his actions during the war, and before. However, the last time they'd spoken, there had been barely disguised hostility on Weasley's part. Meanwhile, Draco had generally feigned bored disinterest in whatever the ginger git had to say. Finally, Weasley stopped prattling along to one of the couples, who apparently lived in the high-rise flats. Draco stepped out from behind the plant and spoke quietly to his old schoolmate. Weasley, over here. Weasley turned wide-eyed, recognizing Draco's voice immediately from the looks of it. His hand reached for his pocket, clearly groping for a wand that wasn't there. What the fork are you doing here, Malfoy? Sort of the question I came to ask you, actually. Draco countered with a forced drawl. How in the world did you make it here? Come off it, Torser! Weasley's angry blue eyes challenged Draco. I was a jim-jammed war hero. His face was growing as red as his hair. Draco smirked. Potter was the jim-jammed war hero, Weasley. You just carried his pocketbook for him. Weasley made as if to lunge towards him, and Draco put out a hand, placatingly. I'm only taking the piss out of you, Weasley. You played your part in winning the war. It was important. There, happy? Fork. Sensitive, even in death. The ginger appeared to back down begrudgingly. I just don't understand how the good place let someone like you in, Weasley grumbled. Come off it, Weasley. You know that fortune favours the rich and the handsome. That's what we both learned when we were 11, don't you remember? Weasley simply clenched his jaw as Draco picked up a glass of champagne from a tray passing nearby and drained it. Clearly you came to the same conclusion at some point, Ronald. I mean, look around. You clearly realize the value of wealth and beauty. I guess you figured being one out of the two wasn't so bad." "Sod off, wanker," Weasley grumbled. "With pleasure, Ronald, as soon as my business is conducted. You see, just as you and Luna Lovegood have made a soul connection, so have I." "My condolences to the lady ferret they matched you up with," Weasley interrupted, quite rudely. "She and I appreciate your well wishes. In fact, she's asked to see you. You and Luna," Draco said through tight lips. Weasley narrowed his eyes at Draco. "Why? What does your girlfriend have to do with us?" What? She wants to know if you were just as much of a poncy git when you were a teenager as you are now." Draco scanned the room to see if anyone was paying them any mind, but everyone was focused on the food and their own conversations. He spoke quietly. "No, actually, she knew me as a teenager as well." "What? Is it someone from Hogwarts?" Weasley asked, a bit too loudly. "Just shh. Yes, if you must know. And to be honest, I find it a little odd that the four of us have all come to the same good place. I was under the impression that there were lots and lots of good places. What are the chances that four of us who knew each other back on Earth are all here together?" Draco wondered aloud. Weasley appeared to think about it for a moment, then shook his head. "I'm sure it's just an odd coincidence," he said firmly. Draco narrowed his eyes at the man. "Sure it is. Listen, just get Lovegood and come meet us in the third room on the right, past the billiards room," Draco said urgently. "We'd like to discuss it. There's other confusing things going on, and this person wants us to meet privately." Weasley looked a bit confused, but this seemed like an ordinary expression on the red-haired man's face, from Draco's point of view. I have a billiards room?" Weasley asked him in befuddlement. "Salazar's ash, Weasley. Every self-respecting mansion has a billiards room," he tisked. "Money really is wasted on the poor." "You're literally in the good place. How are you still such a forking ashhole?" Weasley muttered, seethingly. "One of death's little mysteries, I suppose, Weasley. Just hurry, would you?" Draco raised an eyebrow at him, and when the other man didn't object, he moved quickly back towards the room in which he'd left Hermione. He re-entered to find her licking her fingers clean of the decadent truffle butter sauce that had accompanied the prawns. "Merlin, Granger, did you save me anything?" he joked, snatching up one of the 3 remaining prawns from the platter.
"Hush! I've already asked Dobby to get us another platter," she chided as she wiped her lips daintily on a clean napkin.
"I love how you look so prim and proper right now, when I know you literally just ate nearly your weight in seafood," he said with a chuckle, pouring them both a double finger of scotch and gratefully accepting the filled plate from the newly arrived Dobby. She narrowed her eyes but acknowledged nothing, even as her cheeks suffused with the pink colour at his words.
"Did you find them? Are they coming?" she asked nervously.
She picked up her lowball glass and drank her entire drink in one. "Weasley was doing his best to hobnob with the richest-looking people in attendance, but I spoke with him. He was entirely pleased to see an old school chum, and he welcomed me with open arms," Draco assured her warmly.
"I'll bet he did." Hermione suppressed a laugh. "I suppose it's a good thing we don't have wands here. He might have come back as a white ferret. Did you see Luna?"
Draco ignored the obvious dig. "No, she must have been somewhere else. Probably trying to get away from her soulless ginger soulmate," he mused to himself.
Hermione tossed a pillow at his face. "Aren't we all, Malfoy?" she asked drolly, but with a look that indicated that she didn't entirely mean it.
He tossed the pillow into the fire as well. "That was disgusting, Granger. That one was covered in sauce."
Her laugh was cut short by a loud thump at the door, followed by what was clearly a fumbling with the doorknob.
Both of them stood and drew together, side by side, uncertain of what was coming. The door cracked open, and the sound of moans and exuberant kissing could be heard from the opening. They looked at each other in confusion, uncertain of who was coming into the room. Weasley's back entered first, his mouth clearly engaged with snogging someone as he backed into the room. The door slammed behind them, and Draco cleared his throat loudly. The two lovers jumped apart quickly. One of the sexiest women that either Draco or Hermione had ever seen looked over Ron's shoulder, surprise written on her heavily made-up face. Her ample breasts were pushed up to the loftiest of barely believable heights. She wore an incredibly tight black dress that barely reached the tops of her thighs, with cutouts that ran the entire length of her sides. Her long, tanned legs ended in a pair of the tallest red heels imaginable. Weasley turned and stared at the two of them in shock and disbelief, an expression that was mirrored on the faces of both Draco and Hermione.
"What the fork is going on here?"
Weasley asked, his eyes ping-ponging wildly between his friend and their former rival.
"Yet again, the question we wanted to ask you,"
Draco replied, staring between Weasley and the stranger, the thoroughly kissed blonde woman standing next to him.
"Hermione, what are you doing here? You died."
To Weasley's credit, Draco noticed that he looked rather distraught by this notion. "Yes, I died, Ron. But that's neither here nor there. Where the hell is Luna? She's your supposed soulmate, and yet here you are, kissing this woman." Draco found his own voice.
"Yeah, Weasley, what gives? I knew you were a bit of a tosser, but I didn't think you were a cheater as well,"
he said with mild distaste, looking at the pair of them standing by the door.
"What are you on about?" Ron nearly shouted.
"I'm sorry, can someone explain exactly what is going on?" the blonde woman asked. "Ronnie just told me that he wanted me to meet someone, but I thought he just wanted to sneak away for a shag. Who are you?" Hermione regained her senses first. "My apologies. My name is Harlow, and this is Draco. We attended school with Ronald years ago. May I ask who you are?" she asked courteously. Ron fixed his fellow Gryffindor with a hard stare.
"Hermione, did this asshole do something to you?"
Draco's jaw worked double time to keep his mouth shut, to avoid going off in anger at the other man. The beautiful woman tossed back her glossy blonde hair and stepped forward with a nervous smile. She held out a hand to shake. "Sorry, yes, of course. Where are my manners? My name is Luna Lovegood." Thank you for listening to Everything is Fine by Great78. If you enjoyed this story and would like to read more like it, please find me on Archive of Our Own or follow my Spotify channel, Silver and Copper.